Hello friends, this is Carrie and welcome back to I Like Reddit channel. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. Friends, I know I've been gone for a little bit, but I've had to take some time off for mental health reasons. But I'm back with some stories, 4 of them out of the Entitled People subreddit. So, let's begin. Our first story is posted by Adept Yard, entitled Vegan Roommate Steals Food and Acts Like She's the Victim. Warning, the story's kind of long, TLDR at the bottom. This is a throwaway because it has some personal info that I don't want my family, who know my main account, to know. So I, male 21, am in my second year of university. I'm currently rooming with 3 other people. Dan, male 20, Max, 19 male, and Olivia, 20 female. All fake names. We all share a living area, kitchen, and of course fridge. We each have shelf space for our stuff, and kinda share the rest of the fridge. Now in our group, I'm the only person that doesn't have any dietary requirements. Dan is gluten intolerant, Olivia is vegan, by choice, and Max is mostly vegetarian because of a mixture of allergies and medical conditions. Max and I are also in the same major and are very close. When we first moved in, Max noticed that some of his food kept getting moved to a different shelf, Olivia's shelf. Max has really bad social anxiety and doesn't do well with conflict, so he asked me to ask Olivia about it. When I did, she thought that we had gotten food for her because she's vegan. I just said that he's vegetarian because I didn't think it was my place to tell other people about his medical conditions. She apologized and moved his food back and seemed happy to have someone else who understood. For the next few weeks, everything was fine. She did get a bit pushy every now and then with Max, saying that meat is the hard part and it would be just as easy to stop eating eggs and drinking milk. Yesterday, we all decided to order takeout. We ordered Chinese. There is a beef-based dish that not only Max can eat, but it is also his favorite. So we got a portion for the group as well as 1 portion for Max. We sat down and started eating. When Olivia saw Max eating the dish, she went to go grab some. Max quickly stopped her and told her that it had beef in it. She sat there and blinked a few times before asking why he was eating it then. Max sheepishly replied that he can eat this dish. She started yelling that he can't make exceptions to veganism and vegetarianism when he feels like it. Max explains that he's vegetarian because of medical reasons. Olivia told him that he shouldn't call himself a vegetarian, then quickly filled her plate and went to her room. Today, Olivia refused to talk to anyone and would leave the room if Max came in. Max was clearly upset, and I asked Dan to take him out somewhere while I spoke to Olivia, because I couldn't promise that she wouldn't start yelling again. They left and I knocked on her door and asked to talk. She let me in and I told her that the way that she's been treating Max is not okay. She said that she felt lied to, and she thought that she had someone who cared about the same things that she did. And I told her it's okay to feel that way, but that's not Max's fault, and what she's doing is wrong. She yelled at me saying that it was in fact Max's fault for misappropriating the label of vegetarianism, and started comparing this to a hate crime. I shut her down right away. She was literally the only one in the group that does not belong to a minority group, and this ticked me off so much. I left to join Dan and Max, who had gone to an arcade. When we, myself, Max, and Dan, got back to the place, it was a mess. Max's stuff had been strewn all over the living room. This also included some of his gaming equipment and medical equipment, which had been damaged. Any meat products that had been opened were thrown in the trash. Empty milk cartons in the sink, which were full, so I think she tipped them. Her shelf in the fridge was empty, and anything that was vegan friendly. So most of Max's food, but also some of Dan's food, was gone. There were 2 rooms on one side, and 2 rooms on the other side. She and Max's rooms were next to each other. We called our RA, and she was really nice and calm. Probably because Max was crying at this point. She said that she would speak to Olivia, and probably have her moved, because this wasn't appropriate. But she hasn't been back yet today. We just finished moving Max's stuff into Dan's room and setting up a fusion just in case. We literally did our food shopping a few days ago, and so we don't have enough money to replace anything. Anyway, sorry if this is a bit of a rant. TLDR. Vegan roommate found out that one of our roommates is only vegetarian because of medical reasons, throws a temper tantrum, feels like she's the victim, trashes the place, breaks his stuff, and steals his food. Our second story is an update to the first one, entitled Vegan Roommate Update. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for the advice you gave. Unfortunately, we cleared up the mess without taking pictures, but we took pictures of the damage and the RA was a witness since she saw the mess and the damage before we touched it. Olivia tried to come back, but with help from the RA, we prevented her. We told her unless she was going to replace everything, we are going to file a police report. And she broke down, saying that she didn't want us to call the police, but she couldn't pay for animal products because it was against her beliefs as a vegan. After crying and yelling, she agreed to transfer money to cover the food and damaged items. It came up to a few $1,000s. Luckily, healthcare, while not great, isn't overly expensive here. She reluctantly handed over the keys to her room, and the RA recorded us packing up her stuff, and we found the mini fridge that had all of our missing food. She then was let in to get her stuff and took an extra long time, sulking and trying to make us feel bad. When that didn't work, she started yelling and getting aggressive. Slurs were being thrown at both Dan and Max, and the RA had to get campus security to remove her. Like some of you predicted, she did try to pull the "big scary men bullying her for being vegan" card. But it didn't really hold up when these big scary men are either dance majors, Dan, a 5'5", built like a stick, me, or a 5'3" trans guy with a crazy level of anxiety whose stomach will implode if he eats meat, Max, and that's not actually what happens, just what he says it feels like. Again, thanks for all the comments and the advice, and even offer to give money. Someone also mentioned a student food bank. They have said since the medical stuff takes priority, if we don't have enough money, we can get access to the student food bank. When it comes to a few comments asking about Max's health conditions, I did ask Max, but he wasn't comfortable with me putting them out there, even if it is anonymous. So I hope the few curious understand. While not being suspended, Olivia was banned from any of the on-campus housing and student halls. Thank you all for the kind words. Fingers crossed with our new roommate. If you're enjoying the content so far, please put a heart emoji in the comment section down below. Our next story is posted by Sweet Southern Breeze. Dollar General Karen tries to cut in line, but no one lets her. This happened 3 years ago, on a particularly hot and sticky August day. The air conditioning was at full blast inside the Dollar General, but it did little to combat the heat other than make the situation somewhat bearable. No one in the line of 7 or 8 people was really complaining though, as we stood sweating and quietly talking amongst ourselves. The lone cashier was working as hard as she could, but it was clear that she was tired and more than a little overwhelmed. My mother and I were third in line when the double doors slid open, allowing a massive wave of heat to roll in. It was as if the gates of hell itself had opened. In front of these gates emerged a Karen. She stomped into the store as if to see where us poor mortals shopped, before turning and disappearing down the aisle, with only the slapping of her overpriced sandals announcing her departure. A few minutes later, she returned with a few items in her arms. As I saw her approach the front of the line, I assumed that she was going to ask if she can get in front of someone, as she only had a few items. Unfortunately, I'm giving Karen far too much credit. She walked up until she was standing almost shoulder to shoulder with the first person in line before suddenly calling out to the cashier. Note, conversations aren't exact. "Oh, hello," cashier's name. "How are you? I haven't seen you since you last visited my church." Her voice was very loud, and she had this annoying tendency to stretch out certain words. The cashier looked up as if surprised and blinked a few times before managing a brief, tired smile. "I'm fine," she said. "Just busy." I took that as the cashier trying to politely say that she wasn't really able to talk. If that was her meaning, however, it was entirely lost on Karen. "I know what you mean," Karen said. "My husband just bought a brand new RV for our vacation, but of course, all the packing is left up to me." She began to complain while simultaneously describing all the features of the RV. By the time she was finished, half of the people in line could have probably picked that vehicle out of an RV lineup. She also complained about her upcoming vacation, referring to it as tiring. Allow me to reiterate, she was complaining about a vacation to a cashier who was undoubtedly desperate for a break. Karen had just moved on to complaining about her son expecting her to bring snacks for soccer practice when the first person in line paid for their groceries. As they started to walk away, the guy directly in front of my mom and I stepped forward to check out. That's when Karen leapt like a drunken gazelle in an attempt to get in front of him. "Excuse me," he said, batted her eyelashes, and flashed a smile so fake that somewhere A used car salesman probably shed a tear of joy. I didn't see you there, she said. Well, I'm here, he replied. He put his stuff on the counter and the cashier started to scan his items. Karen stepped back. Her bottom lip protruded slightly, like a petulant toddler who had just been told no for the first time. But she still hadn't moved back towards the end of the line. I whispered to my mom, "She's going to try it again." My mom gave me a wicked smile and whispered back, "Do you want to let her go in front of us?" I said I didn't, so my mom moved to stand in front of the cart. Karen had started to inch closer once again, so she was nearly rubbing shoulders with my mom. The man in front of us finished, and as suspected, Karen tried to jump in front of us. My mom immediately said, "I'm next in line." Karen didn't try batting her eyes at my mom, but her voice was just dripping with faux innocence when she said, "Ow, I didn't know there was a line there." My mom pointed to the end of the line. "There's a line, and the end is back there." She started putting our stuff on the counter. Seemingly defeated, Karen slunk to the back of the line. No one let her in front of them. As the cashier continued to ring up items, I could have sworn I saw the faintest ghost of a smile. Our final story is posted by Alex Moreno 794. Entitled relatives think they deserve more than my adopted son. To give some context here, I must say that I'm an IT engineer with a toxic family relationship. I did cut off my father, aunt, and uncles, yet I kept in contact with my cousins and their children, which somehow I treat as my own, as I had none and I am an only child, and therefore is the closest thing I have. I always prioritize success over relationships, so I'm single, and through the years, I felt that my cousins' children weren't mine, therefore I wanted to raise one of my own. It took me some time, but I finally adopted an 8-year-old kid, as those usually age out of foster care. I love the experience of raising a child, yet I have to have dealt with some entitlement from my cousins. It turns out that every now and then I usually spend some money traveling with my cousins and their children. Yet this year, for obvious reasons, I need to save money in order to get all of the stuff my son would need, and I'm planning on going big, the best of the best, as far as I could afford. I just explained this to my cousins and told them that this year our trip together was going to be canceled. They said nothing, so I thought they understood the whole situation. Anyway, I wanted my kid to socialize with my cousin's children, so I invited them all to a get-together party. After about 2 months, when my son felt comfortable enough, and somehow all of the kids were so mad that they refused to play with my child. He just sat there in the corner, tried not to cry, but he did. I just talked with the kids, and they said that he was not part of the family and that they deserved more as he was adopted, and they, as my family, were entitled to the trip to the parks in Florida. I was in shock. I asked them where they got that idea from. They told me that their parents have told them the reason why I took the trip with my son, who comes from the streets and isn't even part of the family. I was fuming, so I told them all to leave. I had a Zoom meeting with just my cousins, who told me that their children must come first, and I told them. They made me realize that my son comes first. So I canceled their college funds, their private school tuition, and just told them that if my child is not part of their family, then neither am I. They were all cut off. I've been called unreasonable, but I think my son comes first, and I made the right decision. That's all the stories I have for today. Links to the original Reddit post will be in the description box below. Please stop on by Reddit to show the OP some love and an upvote. If you enjoy my videos, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to let you know when I upload new videos. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.